It is overtime here at Old Favorite Friday at Barrel Amongst Brewing, and we are continuing the conversation on Shipyard Smashed Pumpkin. And this was another one. We had a lot of pumpkin beers recommended to us this year, as you can imagine. And this is the last one we're featuring this year because it's about to be Halloween, right?
Yep.
Only a couple days away. We only did 2 pumpkin beers this year. The first one was the Pumpkin from Southern Tier, which you also did with me,
Yep.
Ralph. And then this was the other one that kind of stuck out to me, recommended by somebody, but also a beer that I knew pretty well and that I remember drinking very fondly back in the day. But this is the first time I'm trying it quite a bit, but I'm interested in your thoughts before hearing my thoughts.
Yeah. Well, personally, it's been a while since I've had this beer. You know, I used to do quite the pumpkin thing around this time of year, getting all the pumpkin beers. But going back to it, I love the fact that aside from they did a really good mixture of that pumpkin spice flavor, so you know you're drinking a pumpkin drink or what you think of like a pumpkin pie, but there's a hoppy bitterness, which I'm pretty sure they even talk about on the can, but there's like enough of a bitterness that stops it from being cloying, which some of these beers definitely can be. And also one thing I want to mention, I love the name Smash Pumpkins, being a Smashing Pumpkins fan, so that actually extra points. But no, they've definitely done more of a well-rounded take on a pumpkin beer, because sometimes with these beers they try to go so far in the direction of, you know, like pumpkin pie that it's hard to tell it's a beer, but this stays grounded.
Well, I think you have evolution where you start with just like hints of flavors for any beer style, right? Even the fruit beers, traditionally like a blueberry wheat, they start with just a hint of blueberry, and then over time it becomes you're just drinking blueberry juice, right? So we've seen that with the pumpkin beers where they started with just using some pumpkin spice, and then turned into they taste like pumpkin pie. They're sweet, they're cloying, they're over the top. Now, I, for this style, do not mind a little bit of sweetness. I've been on record. I really like Southern Tier Pumpkin, and it has some sweetness to it. But this takes a different tact. It's got this beautiful copper color to it. It's got some bitterness. It's a beer. It is identifiably a beer, which is nice and has some hop profile to it. And it has tons of that pumpkin spice, which I really, really enjoy. And literally, like, these spices, like, it actually adds a little bit to the bitterness itself, I think, of the pumpkin spices, and rounds out the beer really, really nice. The nose is incredible. It smells sweet, and it drinks dry. And I really dig that.
Exactly, and definitely something I want to comment on, and I might have kind of said it a little bit before, but that's some of the best part of the way they balance this is, like, if you didn't know any better, you might be like, oh, is that somehow the bitterness coming from like the spices they use? Because some spices can get a little bitter. Is that the hops? But it blended so well that sometimes when you have, you know, anything spiced and you involve the hops, it can go a little sideways. But this is actually really working. Those two flavors are really working in unison. And what I do like about this specifically with the spices is, to me, because I like to do a lot of cooking, it really tastes like if you're making some kind of confectionery pumpkin product, where some of the other ones, it's like this is generic pumpkin flavor, where whatever spices they use, I feel like they've took a slightly more unique approach, and this is like, you know, this is a pumpkin pie. It's not, we didn't just go, you know, down the aisle at a grocery store and be like, oh, pumpkin spice. You know, they took time to think about what they wanted to.
You think they built the spices for this?
Yeah.
And this is one of the things I love about this beer is that it is probably, at least in recent years, this is the most well-balanced pumpkin beer that I've had, because it does not rely on one note. It's not trying to do just one thing. It's trying to be a traditional beer with good hop aroma, flavor, balance. It's trying to not be too sweet. It's adding this pumpkin spice in a really interesting and complete way, as I think what you're trying to say is that they picked out the right spices and the right volumes to bring out the flavor they're looking for. It also comes in at 9%.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a 9% beer that drinks really, really clean, has a nice residual bitterness to it that identifies it as a beer, and hits all the notes for the spice aspect of it. Now, I can see some people trying this and going, this doesn't taste like I'm biting into a sweet, sugary pumpkin pie, and them being a little frustrated with that. I can see that, but you're wrong. It's very good. If you like that kind of thing, there's other options for you. I'm glad that this option exists.
Yeah, for sure. Because, I mean, there's so many different products you can get now, where if you just want to get beaten over the head with sweet pumpkin, there needs to be room for something like this, for if you want something unique and you want something different. Because, you know, you can just walk down the street and get sweet. So this is really nice. And to talk about the ABV, and it's something I said last time, this, because it's not starting off overly sweet, I would love to see this with some time on it because it's already got the high ABV, which should, lend to it aging well. And because usually if you start with a really sweet beer and you age it, it just tends to get sweeter and sweeter. Where this, because it's not overdone, I think this would age really nicely.
Yeah, and because there's so much going on with the spices and the hops, there's a real nice underlying malt flavor that doesn't kind of get in the way of anything, but really rounds things out as well. I mean, you don't want to throw that out the window either. That beautiful color and that maltiness came from somewhere. So just really well made. I really, really am enjoying this. If you have a chance to pick this up, I know we're way past pumpkin beer season for some reason. Christmas beers are already in. You can barely find this stuff on the shelves anymore, unfortunately. But if you do see it around and you haven't picked one up in a while, we can't recommend it enough. It's just a really, really nice,
excellent beer.
Yeah, a really nice version of this beer and a little change of pace while being flavorful. I want to make sure I understand. Like this is a punch in the teeth, right? There's a lot of flavor going on here. It's a big beer. It's 9%, but for everything that they've done to make this beer big and impactful, they've also taken the care and the craft to make a really incredible beer. And I mean, tons of respect for that.
100% for sure.
Yeah.
I would say this is, a unique beer. It's going to give you what you want, but, they took their time and made a solid beer no matter whether you love or hate pumpkin beers. This is just a solid beer.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers, everyone. We will see you next week for Old Favorite Friday. Go pick up some Shipyard Smash Pumpkin. Please poke around on our YouTube channel and check out some of the amazing videos we have talking about other incredible beers, sometimes with Ralph.
Yep.
Cheers.
Cheers.